Good afternoon, beautiful people. On a beautiful afternoon in the Rietspruit Game Reserve, I was taking chances. I wanted to get down into the deep sloot there and see if we could search for, well, anything that's taking refuge from the heat in the shade. And one of the tracks on my map is long since overgrown. So we're aborting that mission. We're gonna head back to a real road. Anyway, good afternoon. Like I've said, I'm Victoria. Behind camera this afternoon, we have Andrew the Awesome. And back at FC, we have Basil the Brilliant. Oh, look at me and my Sunday afternoon alliteration. So we have a great crew with us in Basil and Andrew. They've got my back, quite literally at the moment, because Andrew, I just drove him through a bunch of thorns. So there's always an adventure. Are we going that way? It's nice. Well, there are some rhino tracks here, but the vervet monkeys have walked on top of these rhino tracks. So I think the reality is they're not as fresh as they look. Although I did see some vervets jumping around, so you never know. My hope this afternoon is that we can have quite a nice little plan. And the thing I've learned about nice little plans is that they seldom come to fruition. But my nice little plan includes hoping to find a rhino. One second. Oh, sorry about that. Hoping to find a rhino while it's hot. We'll hit all the water points. Try and get up to Leadwood Dam to see if we can see the hippos, and then maybe if we're lucky, something else as it cools down. One moment, folks. Sounds like I've got something in my throat. Oh. Oh, goodness me. Typical that you would swallow something bug-like as you're off-roading. Okay, I think I've regained my composure. I hope. All right, let's check who we have with us on drive this afternoon. I almost forgot to greet you all in the little bug that I had in my throat. Hello, Mary, Christine, Carol, Elsa, Betty, Rosemary, Barbara, Ariana, Michael. Goodness, we have lots of you today. Have I said Becky as well? Hello, 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 everybody. Nice to have all of you with us. It is a beautiful and brilliant afternoon, nice and toasty. Apparently we're having a solar flare in South Africa. Now, I don't actually know what that means. I should have done a bit of research. I'll do a bit of research and get back to you, but effectively what's happening is that we're getting just super intense rays. And it's not actually that much hotter than it would have been, but we're finding that we're burning way quicker than we were a couple of days ago. And I can definitely feel that. The sun is harsh at the moment. I wonder how things like that impact, well, I don't wonder, but they do definitely impact the animals. We're not seeing much out in the open. Everything's taking cover in the shade. There you go, Dacre just dashed off. He's not gonna be so easy to get on camera. And Connie, hello Connie. Nice to have you with us. We've got some beautiful helmeted guinea fowl on the road in front of us. Don't know if Andrew can get them there. There you go. It's a fantastic little flock. I'd say a little because there's not as many as there could be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Looks like about 11. I mean, I've seen flocks of over 40. So there might be more that we're just not seeing in the long grass or in the thicket left and right of the road. But it's not a massive flock. Often you'll go and you'll drive around these game reserves and you'll see a neat little pile of guinea fowl feathers. And it's always such a mystery because you don't see much, often you don't see blood or you don't see any portions that there's some impala dashing off in the distance. Don't worry about it, Andrew, but they are. Just want to keep an eye on what's going on there. But often you'll find a little pile, a neat little pile of guinea fowl feathers, and it's because they are a preferred food source of animals, nocturnal animals like particularly the genets, even other things like caracal and serval, and I suppose if a young leopard could get their paws and claws into a guinea fowl, they wouldn't mind. But they're definitely not a delicious, certainly not a delicious snack. I've heard lots of different ways to prepare them, and my favorite so far is that you boil them in a pot with a rock for 12 hours, and then when the rock is soft, you take it out and you eat the rock, and you discard the guinea fowl. No, just because it's apparently such tough meat that it's very difficult to prepare. But I've had some people tell me that if you prepare it correctly using Poole, we call it Poole, but I think more widely known as papaya skins. If you wrap it in papaya skins and you roast it slowly, apparently it can be quite the delicacy. I haven't tried it. My closest, well, I mean, we've lived with guinea fowl our whole life because they're everywhere in South Africa. In the town that I grew up in, we lived on a golf course, and there was a flock that visited us every evening for bread. So my mom used to feed them bread. And then when this nice rhino dung here, I'm just gonna have a look. Looks like they were going the other way and somebody's driven over the tracks. We passed Ronnie earlier and she said there were tracks of rhino on this road. And there are those tracks. So we know it's at least before Ronnie was on the road, maybe an hour ago or longer. Anyway, probably my favorite guinea fowl story ever is when I moved into my last job, because when we work in the bush, we work, we live, we do everything in the bush. So the last place I moved in, I had a room, it was a lovely room with an ensuite bathroom, and I had a neighbor. It's like, if you can imagine, like you were neighbors, but your doors all faced out. So a little like, I don't know, like the stable equivalent for humans. And my neighbor at the time was a grumpy man who, when every night around between 11 and 1 o'clock, guinea fowls who roosted in the trees above our roofs would get disturbed, and then they'd go and they'd throw an absolute tantrum, and then you imagine that times 40 in your roof at 1 p.m. And then this grumpy man living next door to me used to swear and throw things at not really throw things at it, but in the direction of what we assume was the eagle owl that was hunting them around that time and creating the ruckus. And it was every night consistently for weeks. And then I married that man. It was Gareth. He used to get so grumpy. He could not control his frustration with the fact that between 11 and 1 every single night without fail, he would be woken up by guinea fowl. Hello Brian, hello Matty, nice to see both of you on drive. What do we have up in the sky dive bombing there, Andrew? I'm making Andrew work on this lovely Sunday afternoon. Sorry, they've really flown off into the distance. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to identify. You should be able to see a speck in the air there now. Now, there were two of whatever that is, and they were locking talons and really getting into one another. Because of that behavior, I'm sure it's a small predatory bird. Maybe we can get a bit closer, but of course, when you want to put them on camera, they didn't oblige. Oh, bunch of hornbills flying off. Okay, we're getting up to Seskant now. Seskant Krip. Seskant is actually the Afrikaans word for hexagon, but it's directly translates to 6 sides. A hexagon is a Seskant. Afrikaans is a very literal language, so Seskant, 6 sides, vierkant, 4 sides. Kant means sides, and obviously vier is 4, 6 is 6. I was really hoping that we were going to get something drinking here. Oh, still glasses. Why didn't you warn me? What do you got up there? Beautiful. A red-billed hornbill. There's actually 2 of them up there. Lovely to see them with quite their slight bill compared to the other hornbills that we get. And this is I'm trying to see if it's a male or a female. It looks like a female at the top of the tree. There's definitely a female on the right-hand side of the tree. What I'm looking for in the male and female differentiation is the color of the bill. So with the male, the top portion is red, and then the underneath side is black, and the females it's red and red. Both top and bottom are red. So this looks like a female to me. Yeah, definitely. And then on the other side, the other one I can't actually tell you. There's a bit of foliage in the way. But we always remembered it as the female would put a full face of makeup and red lipstick on, whereas the male wouldn't. Lovely. They're very settled. There's quite a lot of bees hanging around this crypt. I think they're bees or they're flies. Are they bees? Yeah, there's a lot of bees. Bees are trying to collect water from Seskant Krip. It's interesting when a swarm moves. Oh, me, am I in the way? Sorry. Put my head in the way of the bees. One way to get a bee in your bonnet. I actually think it's bees and flies going on there. You can see the bees are the larger of the insects, and then the flies got far more energy. Water is an integral part of a bee's life. But anyway, when a wild swarm moves into an area, what we've seen quite a lot is that they'll swarm 1 or 2 water sources for a couple of days, and then because wild swarms are often moving hives, and then the swarm gathers and they move off again. So we've had instances where we've had quite a lot of issues with bees, and you think it's relentless, and it persists for 2 or 3 weeks, and anything you eat outside, anything you take outside, Gareth and I camped in the Kruger once, where everything we had was infested with bees. And it was not even things you would think that bees would eat, but bees they penetrated everything. And then a day later, or 2 or 3 days later, they were gone, just like that. And so usually, and then we saw it again at Malo Malo, what happens is that they move in for a couple of weeks. They try and glean what they can from the flowers, from the water sources in the area, and then they regroup and they move off. And that's so important for pollination and for the survival of the hive as well. And they move, I think, far more frequently than bees in domestic or farmed hives. Oh, me and my English on Sunday afternoon. Usual domestic farmed hives would move a lot less than wild ones do. But that's probably because resources are a lot slimmer, especially in drier months, so they have to keep going. So it'll be interesting. We should monitor how many days we get the bees at Seskan for. I know it's been a few days, 2 or 3 at least. But we are going to make our way, continue up north, see if we can get to, well, let's get on to Leadwood, and then depending on the time, I'll decide what our target animal is. We do have options. Francis Craddock has joined us. Hello, Pumpkin. That's my little sister, everybody. I don't think I've called her Francis since she was born, or since I was really angry. I'm never really angry with her. Let's have a look and see what this, I'm sure you've had a look at this elephant pudding before. Cider cordifolia. It's a bit spiky. I'm going to hold it here, Andrew. Can you work with the one that's in my hand? You want me to move back a bit? Okay. So what we're seeing here it's a very leathery plant with a very leathery texture, the cider cordifolia, or commonly known as the elephant's pudding. But it's closed now. And what happens, is that it closes because it's been such a hot day, and this leaf is actually quite dehydrated. I don't know if you can see can you see, where do you want it? Just there. Okay. There's a lot of creasing on it, wrinkling, and that's because it's lost a lot of moisture. Now what it's done is it's folded itself in to protect the inside, which is a lot more supple, and this whole side of the leaf is not losing moisture through evaporation. So it's a clever, very clever design of this particular creeper species to be able to retain as much moisture as it possibly can in these hot Lowveld days. You can see them all here. They call it elephant's pudding because obviously it's a favorite of the elephants. I saw one of the bulls snacking on the elephant's pudding recently. Nice. Okay. We also have great rhino tracks that head up the road here, so maybe we'll get lucky with the rhino. There's something that I would like to try and show you this afternoon, but I make no promises. We don't know exactly where they are, but apparently there's jackals with pups somewhere on Leadwood. So we need to put the time in and put the effort in, and maybe we'll see jackals, but it just depends. If the day is really warm, it's cooling down already, but because it's been such a warm day, they might not even come out of the burrow. It might be too warm, and I'm not entirely sure exactly where it is. It's not really a disclosed location just yet. There are nice rhino tracks in this area. Otherwise, what we'll do is we'll try and get ourselves, we'll either do that or we'll try and get ourselves to Leadwood Dam and see if we can catch up with the cute little hippo family that live at Leadwood Dam. That young one is getting so big and growing up so quickly. I know all of you have been seeing it since it was a tiny little hippo. But it's not very old, is it, Andrew? No. We're not really sure how old it is. You all might actually have a better idea as to how old that hippo calf is, but even in the time I've been here, it's grown enormously. It's not enormous yet, but it has grown a lot. Mary says the leaf has lost moisture, but it's gained character. You're right. It definitely looks more interesting when it's a little bit shriveled up. It's actually quite funny, the texture that leaf takes on once it's lost moisture in the heat is a lot like granny fingers that you get when you've sat in the bath or in a swimming pool for too long, and then you get the rippled texture on your fingers. It's a lot like that, but it's from the exact opposite. And the best part is when the rain falls or when it gets nice and cool, it will open up again and it will plump up. Everything will be so much more lush in a couple of weeks' time. Knobthorn trees have started to produce leaves, even though we haven't really had too much rain yet, so they're really working with what they've got. And usually what happens is you see the knobthorns start flowering, and then you can almost count 6 weeks from when the first knobthorns start to flower all the way through to the first rains, and then they have their leaves. And we haven't had too much rain. We've had like little drizzles here and there. Clearly they're storing energy and they're ready to start photosynthesizing, so they need those leaves to come back. We had impalas, yeah.
Because I was now on the Zandvoort.
They're looking beautiful. And some of them are looking very pregnant.
Yeah, maybe in a direction.
So there's obviously a ram here. Definitely not going to show us how pregnant he is, all things considered. No, there was a female behind and she was looking quite rotund, but she's not obliging. None of them are. Not even that little one back there. Nope. Looks like one of last year's lambs, so I don't think that one will be pregnant this year. I can't wait for lambing season. The season of plenty.
Yeah, basically I put it on for
A year old, Mary, thank you. The baby hippo is about a year old. Well, that makes sense. I would have aged it at around a year, but then somebody said that they thought it was really young. And then I was a bit thrown. But a year old is exactly what I would have aged it at. So cool. Anyway, like I was trying to tell you, we had an incredibly eventful morning in camp this morning. Around 3 a.m. we had an elephant bull in camp, breaking the big baobab tree and making noise and generally just stirring everyone up. I slept like a log. I did not hear the elephant commotions. VM dealt with those, so thank you to VM, because otherwise I would have felt pretty tired. This is better, right, Matt? Ugh, Andrew, I always do that. The name's Andrew Ryder, not Matthew Gee, my bad. Teachers used to do that to me at school. They used to confuse me with somebody else in their class, and I used to think, you've known me for so long and I don't even look like that person, and now you will not believe how many times I've called Andrew Matthew and Matthew Andrew, and Matthew's not even here anymore. This is a me problem. I need to be better. Anyway, so we had the elephant pool in camp, and we didn't actually, I mean, I didn't see it again. Did you? You didn't see it this morning or anything? No. And then what happened was around 4 o'clock this morning, we just heard incessant roaring, and it went until about 6 o'clock this morning. And the lions were, if they were babies, I would say they were inconsolable, because they just went and went and went, ooh, 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 on and on and on and on. It wasn't even light yet when they started, and then I was so confused because so long before, almost 4, and I thought, my goodness me, something's really worked these lions up. But they weren't actually found this morning, not to my knowledge. So even though they were really loud and really present, and I think they were seen on the giraffe cam around 4:30. Goodness, they were loud. You think you're gonna have a leisurely Sunday, and then the lions say, oh no. Oh no. Well, we can show you a pregnant Nyala. She definitely looks like she's got a baby growing in there. It's beautiful. She must be close to giving birth. You see how rotund that belly is? Here's a trivia question for all of you. What is the gestation period of a Nyala? Does anybody know? I'll give you a few minutes and then I'll tell you the answer. Let me see if anybody's. Carol and Mary just deliberating on the baby hippo. Apparently it's closer to 18 months old. Makes sense. She's actually very relaxed. We have quite a good Nyala population in this area. We see them more, I mean it's typical, but we see them more in the drainage lines, around the drainage lines. In previous or in other camps you'll see them quite regularly around the camp. They like to be around camps because they've learned that predators are less likely to use the camps. So if they learn to tolerate humans, the Nyalas, then they tend to be quite safe if they're in and around homes and camps. But we don't see many Nyala around Hace. We see a lot of duiker, a lot of duiker, but not so many Nyala. I think that I see more male Nyala on this reserve than females. At least I see them more regularly. Maybe the females are just blending better this time of the year. She seriously is ready to pop. So Ariana and Mary are saying, oh no, Mary's saying 65 days. Ariana's saying a little around 200 days. It's closer to Ariana's guess. It's around 220 days. So that's 7.5-ish months that she'll be pregnant for. It's quite a long gestation period for the size of her. Mostly the antelope, yeah, I mean 6 to 9 months generally of antelopes similar sizes, but 7.5 months makes sense. 220 days that she'll be carrying this for, and I think that she's nearing the end of it. Michael's asking if she's an older girl. There is a quality to her that does look like she's a bit older, but I mean, she's not nearly as old as a lot of Nyala I've seen. What happens with them is they actually go grey. The coat loses the vibrant orange and starts to turn to the color that you can see around her, the lower parts of her neck and chest. Her whole body will eventually turn, yeah, thanks Andrew, that kind of color. And then actually for some reason they just look fluffier, but I think what it is that they don't groom as frequently. But they will breed right up until the day they die, so it's amazing. But most species actually, besides humans, blue whales and elephants, will produce offspring until they die. There is a smaller one in there. I don't know if you're a little, maybe I should go a bit further forward for you, Andrew. Look at the tail. I can pull forward a bit. I don't know if it's going to make that much of a difference. Nyala can live pretty long though. I mean, all of the gestation periods and things that we learn, gestation periods, life expectancies, gestation period's not going to change, but the life expectancies change. And that's because often they give you life expectancy for captive animals, but the life expectancy of nyalas is around 18 years in captivity. So I'd bring that down to probably 13, 14 in the wild. That's a pretty good life that you lead out here as a food source. All right, they've completely hidden themselves from us. Let's carry on our adventure. Michael, I still think she's older. I was looking at her ears, and she does have a little bit of nicking. You know, her ear margins are not perfect. Ears are a really good telltale for aging an animal. A perfect ear with perfect ear margins is an indication of a young animal, and then as they age with wear and tear in the wild, you'll often find that they'll get little nicks and whatnot. And generally the rule of thumb is the more of those they have, the longer they've lived. But you do also see nyalas, like I said, change in color, getting a more dull tone. So she's probably on the older end of middle-aged. Let's see. Ariana says, numbers aren't always my thing. You did pretty well with the Nyala gestation period there, Ariana. But you know what? I think that a lot of that stuff, Nyalas, or not Nyalas, gestation periods and life expectancies, they're just not something that you need to occupy your brain, especially not in the day and age of Google. If you remember them as fun facts, that's great. But I think it's more interesting to understand their behavior, or being able to age them, or, you know, looking at her and saying she's definitely pregnant. Where is she in her pregnancy? A fun fact, but a fun useless fact to know their gestation period. So don't be too hard on yourself. There were some that I learned off by heart, and others that still trip me up. Monkeys and poop. Thanks, Maddie. Maddie was just confirming what the solar flare is and why that we're experiencing one in South Africa at the moment. But he says that it's a sudden, intense release of magnetic energy from the sun. So no wonder we've been really feeling the sun the last few days. It hasn't necessarily been hotter. It's just been more intense. Through the sun slurt now. We did a really nice drive of the sun slurt yesterday afternoon from top all the way to bottom, trying very desperately to figure out where our leopards are moving, and we're going to well, we have already, but we're going to continue to add camera traps. Nice. Oh, Betty, with all the thorn trees around, no wonder they get their ears take a beating. Yeah, it is definitely that, especially when they're trying to get away from danger. I mean, animals that are like predators, lions, leopards, all of the predators, their mating behaviors are quite rough as well, so they'll grip the back of the neck with, the male will grip the back of the female's neck. And if the ears get in the way, then the ears get in the way. It's the same for lions feeding on a carcass. I've watched lions take other lions' eyes out feeding in carcasses. So they don't care. If you are in their patch of the food and they need to swipe, they're going to swipe. Pardon? Andrew's saying that's pretty gnarly. Yeah, it's a lion eat lion world out here. I once watched a male lion. They weren't even hunting. We were just watching them, and the male lion was relaxing, and suddenly he became aware that the cubs, they were about 6 to 8 months old, were showing a little bit of interest in an impala, and the cubs were maybe 20 meters away from the impala, and he was on the other side. And what happened was the cubs were just messing around, and the impala suddenly got frightened, ran away, and the male caught this impala. And then there was, of course, a pile up. It was a big pride at the time, the Nkuhuma pride with the Northern Avoca males. I'm sure some of you follow those lions and their stories on social media. But what happened in the pile up is that the Northern Avoca male actually grabbed one of his cubs, and his so gross now, but his claw got hooked in the eyebrow of the cub, and he lifted the cub up like this and couldn't get it off his claw. So he was trying to flick this cub off his claw while he's eating. Shame the little thing had a proper scar on its eyebrow, but luckily the eye was completely fine. Is this a better call, this one? Yeah, I think so. I'm just thinking of my route into the area. It's cooling off so nicely all of a sudden. We're moving on to Leadwood now, in search of some jackals. I don't think I've seen a jackal on live drive. I know Gareth had them calling the night that he extended drive when the lions were at Haste Camp, but he could hear them alarm calling at the lions, but you didn't see them, did you? You were on drive, no. They didn't see them. Andrew hasn't seen a jackal in ages. It's no surprise. Rietspruit is a predator-dense game reserve. So, being a closed system, And we know that we have 7 lions, we have 3 wild dogs, we have a number of cheetah and an unknown but fairly large population of leopards. The mesocarnivores like the jackals and the servals and the caracals and even the civets and the genets, they are thriving on this game reserve, but they're bound to take a little bit of strain. With all of the apex predators that call this area home, it's no surprise that we don't frequently find jackal or any of the other mesocarnivores. Although I have been told Andrew will not let me forget, he was the first person to put a serval on Painted Dog TV live drive cam. Best believe. Was it the rider of your life? Come on. What's going on? People have sent lots. Victoria, would there be a difference in being a guide for a lodge in an open system versus a lodge or accommodation in a closed system? There's been a huge difference, Michael. The open system is magical, honestly. The open system is, you never know what you're going to get and what could happen, and so you live in an elevated level of tension. With an open system, you know the resident prides in the area, the resident leopards in the area, but nothing is guaranteed because of how much and how dynamic a big open system is. Like, for example, I mean, the Kruger National Park is the size, well, the Greater Kruger is the size of Wales. So it's the size of a small country. Animals, it really is the survival of the fittest and the survival of the fittest only. And animals are breeding and having offspring, and it's very much a hands-off, no intervention, like you just there as an observer. That's what an open system offers. A closed system, like this reserve, is also incredibly special, but for totally different reasons. You get to know the individuals personally, and you know that they're going to be here. So for example, the lionesses, we know them all. We know who they are. We know that they're part of one pride. We know that they're unlikely to have cubs because they've been contracepted. Some of them have been permanently sterilized. And that's the most important way to control a system that is closed. It's the most fair way to handle it, and it really makes it interesting because you have to be aware of what's going on in your animal population so that you don't lose control and develop a very unhealthy, unbalanced system. But as a guide, this reserve is it's still so big that it's wild, and the wild element is wild. I mean, you know, if you think that just because it's a closed system and you know which animals you're going to see, they are tame or that they are in any way less wild, you are very wrong, and you could find yourself in a lot of danger. So guiding is guiding. Being a guide, you'll chat through anything, you'll experience anything, but that element of surprise, that element of the unknown being a reality, is more prevalent in a large open system. Not every large open system, in fact, I don't know any large open system that's boasting a view like that. Look at those mountains, they always do this to me. I think part of the beauty of Rietspruit, besides of course the exquisite view of those mountains, is that it's very wild. But what we do get to do is we get to be involved, we get to move animals, we get to, because it's in their best interest, we get to participate in front row conservation, whereas in large open systems the conservation's already happened. Now it's just preservation of what's already been cultivated. The system is set up to thrive. What makes me so excited about the Rietspruit Game Reserve is that it's so well run. There's so much going on that there's always a new exciting possibility. The management of this reserve is so switched on, and they're so involved in the conservation of the area and of doing right by the wildlife, that you can't help but be proud to be part of it. Look at that cliff face there. Beautiful. I think that's my favorite feature of these mountains. It looks like a lion sleeping. Can you see it? Like the mane, and then it drops down to the eye, and then it drops down to the muzzle and the nose. Maybe he's even licking his paw. And there's his foot, exactly. Okay. So cool. I hope I'm not the only one who can see that. I'll sound completely crazy. I can see the lion there. The lion sleeps tonight. Ow. Wombawe. We probably just spend too much time listening to being around lions. I close my eyes and I see lions. It's a tough life I live. Have a look here. What do you think, Andrew? Now, I think this could be where the baby jackals are, but I'm not entirely sure. Looks very quiet at the moment. What's great about it though is that if you look, I mean, obviously it is an old termite mound, so it would be bare, but it does look to be, I'm looking with binoculars, looks to be ground that's used quite frequently. There's no spider webs on the entrances to the holes, which would indicate that it's not active. On the left-hand side, there looks like there could be a little bit of digging in that area. All good signs that this is probably used, and since there were jackals with pups seen in this area, maybe they were here. We might be just a little bit too early. Perhaps what we'll do is a small loop. See if there's anything else. There was a female cheetah and her cub seen on this road last night, quite late last night. So, I mean, I didn't see any indication of them. Oh, there's movement in the back there, Andrew. Really tricky, but it might be coming this way. To the right of, okay, so the tree you've got on the frame here.
The big one.
Just, it was back and in between the two trees there. I've lost it now, but there was movement of something coming towards the area. might have been a warthog, to be honest. What were you? Whatever it was not too fazed by us. It didn't even look up. But the bush in the background is quite thick, so to see any movement, you've really got to... Well, you can see the movement, but to be able to identify it, you've really got to be paying enormous amounts of attention. Mary says she'll never unsee our lion.
Chris, leaving the lock at the White Rhino Poole, pop out of track junction with Buffle Pan.
We might have luck here at sunrise, Mary. It's really far to get here at sunrise. But we could actually do it. We could gun it up and all the way. I don't know who's on tomorrow morning. That's really bad. It might be me. I just need to check. Oh, tomorrow afternoon. I keep thinking that, oh, look what we have here. 2 giraffes coming to investigate us. On the road. Wow. Well, that's quite nice. Looks like 2 females. Got very thin ossicones, so I think it's 2 girls. I could be mistaken, but let's just sit tight. They might come and investigate a little bit more. Hello, girl. She's really watching us. They found us. We did not find them. Okay, she's behind the tree now, but the other one is coming this way slowly. With their fantastic eyesight. They know exactly what's going on around here. They're not struggling to see what's in the thicket, like I was. The female on the left has got, in fact both of them have got quite dark coats for females. They're beautiful. They're not too interested in hanging around. That was a bit futile. They came, they did a loop, and then they went back. Beautiful to see them. I think little is as majestic as a giraffe at sunset. Perhaps maybe a leopard. Perhaps definitely a leopard. On every planet, in every language. But the giraffe is beautiful. I'm losing my radio antenna. There you go. Much better. Whatever was wiggling around in the background at this mound has vanished. So I'm in 2 minds about whether we hang out for another 10 minutes or if we leave them. Betty, you're right. Giraffes do have really beautiful eyelashes, but it's really important that they have those eyelashes. They really need a very thick set of eyelashes to protect their eyes. If you watch how deep a giraffe will push its head into a thorn bush to get to the supple, soft little tender shoots, it really has to have some sort of protection for its eyes. And those long, thick eyelashes do exactly that. When they close their eyes, they completely, it's almost like a helmet, but for their eyes. They are both beauty and functional. beautiful and functional. Andrew, what's your feel? Do you want to carry on? What do you think?
Let's carry on and we can come back as well.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree.
Still a bit warm.
Bit warm, sky's a bit high. Sun is a bit high in the sky. Oh. And jackal are not strictly nocturnal. Nothing is strictly, not nothing, but nothing is strictly nocturnal. Everything will deviate from its usual pattern. Even us, we're not strictly diurnal. I know that there are definitely some people, like Mary, who are partially nocturnal. But jackals are not. I mean, I've had numerous really good jackal sightings in broad daylight. Just think that if that is the den, it might not be, but if it is the den and the adults are out, then they'll come back towards the evening. Also, jackals are an absolutely amazing species. They're very, very good at fitting into their environment to avoid any sort of predation on them. So in areas where there's a low lion density or they have a lot of open clearings, or leopard and lion density, and they have a lot of open grasslands, you'll see them quite frequently in the middle of the day. In areas where there are a lot higher persecution, they'll do incredible things. In some areas they even go mute. So a jackal will often cry, that's what we call its call after dark. It's a call that I don't even know if I can imitate. Gareth always tries, but I don't think I can. It's like a wah, 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 wah. I sound like a hardy dog. That's terrible. It's a little bit like that, but more waily. But research has shown that in areas where they're persecuted, like on farmlands, sheep farmlands, where they need to be, where some farmers unfortunately will choose to shoot them because they're killing their sheep, the jackal have learnt to go mute. So they don't cry, they don't call like that looking for a mate, they don't use that as an alarm call for danger, they just go chip still, silent. In areas, of course, where they don't feel that pressure, they are a lot more vocal. It's obviously much easier to be vocal because they can signify danger, they can find a mate, they can communicate with the mate that they do have, or even their pups. So it's obviously a lot easier to use their voice box. They're just a really, really cool species, and I would imagine, speaking to what we've just said about, let's go down here, let's check what's down here. I think it'll take us on a nice loop. Like I was talking about, the area here is predator dense. They are a mesocarnivore, which puts them kind of lower down on the carnivore, in fact quite low down on the carnivore food chain, pecking order. And the fact that we've not seen them in the day, Andrew's only seen one, did you say?
No, I just haven't seen one in ages.
Oh, just hasn't seen one in ages. Exactly, open areas. He says they used to see them on the airstrip. Open areas, they can see further, it makes sense. But that's also another reason why I think this den is more likely to be active a little bit later in the afternoon. We'll see what else we can find. With Mabai and her cub in this area late last night, I would be so thrilled if we could find them. This is the road we were searching for Mabai and her cub the other day when the vultures had stolen the kill from her. I'm not sure if... Well, they definitely didn't find her this morning. Okay, I have a quiz. What do we call the molar teeth of carnivores? You have time, but best believe somebody's gonna beat you if you don't type it in quick. Me, I'm not gonna beat them. I won't beat you. I'll wait until the first one answers and then we'll chat about it. The evening is so pleasant right now. Come on, my bye-bye. Make our day. Just checking my radio is still working.
Gareth coming. Stand by. You're up. Speak with her. Any sign there? Neutral. You're up. It's at Mamba Dam. Neutral side. I'm heading Mamba Dam now.
So Mary has got it. She's got it. She says that they are carnassial shears. And that's what they are. Modified molars in the back of the mouths of carnivores are called carnassial shears, designed, I'm sure we've spoken about this, but designed exactly like scissors are designed, where they cut going over one another. So they're kind of like little pointy mini mountains almost, the way they are long and thin and pointy. They come up to an edge like a knife edge, and then they have two, so they cut over each other, and that is what breaks off chunks of meat. Carnassial shears. Good job, Mary. You have redeemed yourself from your 60-day gestation period of nyalas. I'm just being cheeky. We do have some other stripy animals, some other well-patterned animals here. Now. Andrew, where? There. Looks like two beautiful plain zebra. This is a female. If you look under her tail, you can see quite a large thick black stripe. Now a male would have none of that black. Male would have none of that black exposed skin. That is very typical of the female. So if you're looking under the tail of a zebra, you look for a pinstripe or no stripe at all, which would indicate a male, or a thick black line of skin, which would indicate the females. No, thank you, Michael. I do not want to imagine elephants with carnassial shears. That would be the most terrifying thing in the world. Although an elephant's tusks are actually incisors. So if you think about the fact that they have the longest incisors, that should also give us an indication that they mean business. But you know, you say that and you're chatting, and I know that it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, right? An elephant with carnassial shears. But their was when hyenas were in the height of their success. They had 8 different species, and the biggest one was called a cave hyena, and a cave hyena was the size of a cow. Imagine going on game drive and having a cow-sized hyena walking past you. I think I would wet my pants. Maybe, yeah, maybe just have a small heart attack. A hyena is an amazing creature, but I can't imagine a predator as big as a cow. That's just a lot to deal with, especially because we sit so low. I bet you it would be quite high.
7.
There's a little tiger almost as big as a cow.
A tiger, to be honest with you, I mean, I haven't seen a wild tiger. I know that they're about a third, they can be up to a third bigger than a lion, but that's, I still don't think that that's as big as a cow.
Still pretty big.
Still a pretty serious cat. Although our males on Rietspruit are not small lions. Yes, Betty. Those hyenas are definitely extinct now. Yes, that's why I can laugh about it. If they were a real life thing, I wouldn't be able to laugh about it. There's 4 different hyena species that still exist. So we have, on this reserve, we have the spotted hyena and the brown hyena. Smaller than that is the aardwolf. We think we should call it a dwarf hyena, because aardwolf is a very Afrikaans name, which is fine, but that's the aardwolf. And then the last one that I haven't seen, I would love to see, is the striped hyena in East Africa. You should get those round about the same areas as you get the famous black leopard called Giza. Giza lives in an area of Kenya, Laikipia region, where there are also striped hyenas. That's definitely somewhere I'd love to go.
One day when we're big.
One day when we're big and grown up, or one day when one of you want to come on safari with me. We'll go find both the striped hyena and the black leopard. It'll be called the rarest safari of all. 2 super rare, well, not species. The leopard's not such a rare species, but she is a rare mutation with being melanistic. She's got too much pigment, so she's black. Giza. She's beautiful.
Any that are recorded in South Africa?
There's a lot in these. There's a lot. So Andrew's asking if I've heard of any recorded in South Africa. There was a rumor about 2 years ago that one was seen in the Kruger National Park, but no photos were ever provided to confirm that, and I think it's very unlikely. And then there's a lot that are seen. Gotta stay on the road, Victoria. There are a lot that are seen around in like captivity, which doesn't count for me. you have to actually... Let's have a look in this eroded section just to see if this cheetah and her cub are somewhere here. So pretty. But the melanistic leopard will have... That recessive gene exists because of leopards that live in darker areas where there's more forest and shade. So what happens is that the gene selects for darker coat in order to be able to conceal the predator better in dense vegetation, in the shadows. Now that's not a gene that would be selected for at all in the southern parts of Africa, particularly not in areas where leopards are found. The savanna leopard is found in the savanna where it's in its best interest to be golden. Now that is true for pretty much all of Africa, but there is a pocket population that we've just spoken about in Kenya, and Giza is not actually the only black leopard in that area. They think that perhaps there could be as many as 12. The problem is that they're not all habituated. So she's the only viewable one. For now. On the melanistic leopards, you can still see their rosettes. Yes, Mary, you can. But it's the same, it's a very similar feature as when a lion cub is born, and they are golden and you can see soft rosetting. It's the same kind of thing. The coat is jet black, but there's soft rosetting that you can see on the melanistic leopard. I would, yeah, so you can definitely see, I mean, she's definitely a leopard, but that's where the idea of a panther comes from. If you ever watch The Jungle Book or other things where there's a panther featured, a panther is actually a melanistic jaguar or a melanistic leopard. All of them are part of the Panthera genus. So leopard is a Panthera pardus, jaguar is a Panthera onx, lion is a Panthera leo, and now I do know what a tiger is, but a tiger is a Panthera something, and it's completely escaped me. It's probably not a very difficult one. I'm just being silly. But the point I'm making is that a panther, as seen on The Jungle Book and other movies, is actually just a melanistic, either a leopard or a jaguar. That is a beautiful, beautiful sunset. Well done, Andrew. Let's just take a moment to sit in silence and enjoy this exquisite sunset. Close off the week with a bit of African beauty. Chatting about Panthera leo, the lion. Obviously we're chatting about Panthera pardus, the leopard.
Yeah, they are. That's right.
just listening to the radio real quick. But your last chance to get your hands on the picture of the Panthera leo, lion, the male lion, drinking, please email us info@painterdog.tv and email the keyword hydration. That way we can send you a high resolution copy of the image of the male lion drinking, making sure he is hydrated.
Female cheetah and cub at the intersection of Lodgepan Road.
I'll be keen to join you there as a second. I'm on Lodgepan Road at the junction with Mbovu Trail.
Yeah, good luck as well. I've just joined now, but you can come in.
Curry? Yeah! Somebody else found the Mabai and Baba. But they're right here. So if we hadn't stopped to look at the sunset, perhaps it would have been us. Just turn around. And now at the... Where do I go? Quickest way. Try this way. We're not going to have too much time with them. We watched the sunset beautifully, but that's an indication that we're not going to have too much time with the cheetahs. We're not a species that we put spotlights on after dark, certainly not for very long. But luckily we are close enough that we can get there and hopefully have a great little sighting before we lose all of our light. Where are they? Where be our cheetahs? Try this way first. Kevin, are you closer to Lodgepan or Concert Road on Lodgepan Road?
We're looking at the junction of Lodgepan, Concert Road.
Copy. Okay, they're actually on the northern part of this road. So, not far from where we were sitting with the presumed jackal den site. They've been moving around this area. Hold on, Andrew, let's get there. Andrew's going, look, Mom, no hands.
I don't think anything's as intense as Gareth racing for a leg. Thighs would be bruised.
Yeah.
So I've yet to experience a Ferrari safari with you.
That's true. He's yet to experience a Ferrari safari with me. If they were here and we missed them, or if they've started moving. The evening has cooled down, it's time for a jumper. Oh, there's a lot going on here. Stunning sunset from Michael Fleetwood. Betty says, I always thought that panthers found in Florida were their own type of animals. Betty, you're challenging me here. What I know for sure is that panthers that are referred to as the black panther is definitely a melanistic leopard or jaguar. But I'll have to look into the panthers on your side of the world. Okay, I've got the cars.
Come off just before you get to the junction there. Come towards us.
Cubby, do you think I should come park here? Are you happy here? What do you think? A little bit closer?
Chris, leaving the Lock of the Elephants, Lemon North, one station on lock. Poole, leaving the Elephant side, thank you.
No, I can see them.
Mobile north from Rietspruit.
I don't know, it's always possible. No, I don't know, I think Kevin said I should go in here. What I'm going to do is pull in here, and then we will park in this open area and hopefully get a really nice view of them through there. It's very possible we drove past them. Andrew, how's that gap in there for now? Tiny bit forward. More? See, that little cubby did duck down when we, oh, I can get forward a bit more. Sorry, Andrew. That's better. I'm giving Andrew a really hard time. There we go. Do you have a bit of grass in their face? Isn't that lovely? If they were lying down, completely flat, we would have driven past them this afternoon. Cute.
Okay, I'm going to pull out slowly.
She is. Little cubby is sometimes a little bit nervous with the cars. Yeah, that's what they are. That's what I thought as well, Mary, that they were cougars and pumas. I hadn't heard them called panthers, but it's not to say, I mean, I could be wrong. I thought, I mean, I know of pumas and I know cougars. Yay.
Responding to elephant sightings.
Bye-bye and
8
cub.
minutes out.
Everybody's excited to see them again. It's been a little while since we've had them on a live drive. We had them on a Zoom drive. No, we had them on a live drive with Maureen a few days ago. Actually, while we're chatting about Maureen, if you are interested in supporting her leopard research in this area, she's having a drive on the 17th of August, a PM drive, a South African, well, Standard African time, 4:30 in the afternoon. Those drives are $25 a ticket, and all of the funds are going to go directly to Maureen for the leopard research. So if you are interested in both supporting leopards and being able to ask Maureen personal questions about her research in the area, then you can do so on that drive. Just email us at info@paintedog.tv.
Because we're going to find a leopard.
because we're going to find a leopard. That's what Andrew's saying. Ever the optimist. I believe you're going to find a leopard too, especially with Gareth. Matt's asking, no. Copy. Just getting an update from Gareth in my ear, saying that the lions are roaring around Hace. So maybe we will get them on our way home, but that would have to be we'd have to make haste. Matt's asking how old is Mabai's cub. It's a little over a year now. She's a female. We had a little look under her tail on Wednesday morning last week, and we didn't see anything that made us think that it was a male. So I'm pretty sure it's a female. Also for a leopard, a cheetah that's a little bit. Andrews thinks I'm hysterical. Cheetah that's older than a year. If she was a little boy, she would be a lot larger than she is. As it cools down, maybe they'll play a little bit. Stations reports from Hace that there's audio of lions roaring, sounds to be around Hacepat or the southern parts of Mambakronkelpat. See if somebody else does want to head into that area and do a bit of work looking for the lions that kept us awake last night. Cub's grooming. I thought she was putting her head down to have a nap, but she's grooming. Andrew, would it be better if I go back a tiny bit? You happy?
Oh, yeah, actually, like an inch. Just free,
Andrew, stop it. He's trying to rock the car backwards. There you go. Perfect. Trying to rock the car backwards without switching it on. Didn't work. Look how the behavior has changed of the cub. The other vehicle's on. It's just a little bit more tense. She's completely relaxed. She's very habituated and she's doing very well. But we're all viewing her at a reasonable distance. On Wednesday morning, she walked past the car within 3 meters, so she settled really nicely. But when cars are moving and they're approaching a sighting, she sometimes can just be a little bit weary. And that's to be expected. We won't hold that against her. Michael, no. Unfortunately, the younger mother and her cub have not been seen for, I think it's almost 6 months, more than 6 months now. So,
Receiving a lock of the female cheetahs, one station on lock.
unfortunately, it's probably, nobody knows, but in a closed system like this, she's either got out or something's happened to her. Look how pretty that cub is now, the light in her eyes. When she's looking here, those golden eyes of a cheetah are really quite special. I know that we can't see her right now, but the car behind us is just moving. So when they've moved, I'll reposition so that we can get a slightly better view, but I don't want to put too much pressure on her just yet. When they've gone, I'll move forward an inch or 2 or 5. Those eyes. She's so pretty. Such a typical cheetah build. Sleek, slender, muscular, carrying no fat, not very bulky like a leopard would be. But does stand very tall, and if you look, you can even see the mother's tail extended out quite far. They've got those beautiful rudder-like tails that give them all the control when they're reaching top speeds of 110, 120 k's an hour. Oh my word, she's pretty. You can see the leftover juvenile hair still on the back of the cub to help with blending. Okay, pull forward a little bit, Andrew. She's actually very relaxed with us. I think that this petrol engine on the Jackal is just so fantastic because it makes minimal noise, and so we make good friends with little baby cheetahs. We might have to go around even more just because Mabai is now facing the opposite direction. Of course they are. How high she's lifting her legs. She's an inquisitive cub.
Elephant bull feeding on liquid during work.
It's amazing. This cub has some of the most beautiful cheetah eyes I think I've ever seen. They are extra golden, and show off. What a beautiful little cub. And also has a birthmark in the right eye, kind of discoloration under the pupil. Can't see it very well now, but really some of the prettiest cheetah eyes I've ever seen. I'll pop my jersey on. Now I wonder, it's incredible to have seen and found Mabai and her cub this evening, but since we still have 30 minutes of drive, what do you think about going to follow up on the lions roaring? I think we should give it a bash. Let's do it. We're losing a lot of light here on these cheetahs, and so the respectful thing to do, we could probably spend another 10 or so minutes with them, but the respectful thing to do now is to leave them as it's getting dark. And let's give ourselves enough time to head into the area where the lions have been roaring, because wouldn't that be great? Bye. It's lovely to see ya. You know, folks, now that I've had another look, I really don't know if we can conclusively call this a little female. I'm going to have to go back on this footage later this evening once Andrew's dumped the footage, and then have a real look with a couple of opinions and maybe magnifying glass. Her size, or the size of that cub, for me is an indication that it's not a little male. I'm pretty sure it's a little female. If my head was on a block, I would say female, but I want to go back and double check. Get nice and snug for our drive back. go. Stations, I'm leaving the cheetah and cub to themselves. There's no change. What was that? No problem. Michael Fleetwood says, if one of the boys is dad, then it's no surprise she's so beautiful. Michael, I think our chances are very, 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 very strong that one of the boys is dad. Not impossible that a free-roaming male has managed to slip into the fence and now has a cub with Mabai, but highly, highly unlikely. Fences are incredibly well monitored here, and the cheetahs, you know, we have a really good idea of what's going on. So our assumption is that one of the cheetah brothers is dad to baby Mabai. Of course, until we have genetics, nothing is guaranteed. Hi there. You'll see them at the top of this road on the right here. Enjoy. Some peeps looking for some cheetahs. We could help them out. I'll ask Andrew to lift up its tail next time. That's the suggestion, Andrew. Game on. Okay, well, I'll be cameraman in that 5 minutes and we'll see how it transpires. You're not too worried about the cub, but I certainly don't want to... Just kidding. If you got close enough to touch it, it would rip you to shreds. What a pretty evening. It's a little bit ambitious, but we're going to try our best because I'm still yet to put roaring lions on Painted Dog TV live drive. So if they're roaring now and they roared incessantly this morning, perhaps they will treat us. I'm gonna go Vildefay south because I don't want to get there. I don't want to miss. The opportunity. Needless to say, after 2 hours of lions roaring, Gareth did not go for a run this morning. He decided that fitness, he'd forgo fitness for the, you know, he chose life. a fantastic evening. Andrew and I, when we were leaving a haste this afternoon, it's not this morning, we haven't been talking to you for 12 hours. When we were leaving haste this afternoon, we actually deliberated whether or not we should drive Mambakronkel or not, or Hayspat or anywhere in that area, and we just decided against it, and that's exactly where the lions have been called in. Or not called in, where Gareth's got them roaring. He says they're just south of camp, either Mambakronkel or Hayspat, so damn. But if we had gone there, then we never would have seen Mabai or our beautiful giraffes, or, you know, you can't have your cake and eat it. Except for sometimes. Sometimes you really can.
Buy cake and not eat it.
It's the strangest saying. I only have cake so that I can eat my cake. As somebody who really appreciates the English language, I love idiomatic expressions. I enjoy all of that, but that's one of them that I just can't wrap my head around. Oh yes, thank you, Mary. I am the one. Mary says it's okay. I don't know if you're consoling me because we didn't find the lions or because we didn't find the jackal den, but she says I'm going to be the one to find the brown hyena den, and I'm just going to claim that, because if I can find a brown hyena den, I think I will have peaked. And after that, I'll be done. I can retire. Just kidding, I have to make a living, but my soul can retire. There's nothing like a spotted hyena den. It is so vibrant, so exciting. Little scavengers trying to hop into your footwell and chew on your tires. It's really an amazing thing to witness. But I have never had the privilege of enjoying a brown hyena den, so it would be fantastic. If we could find a brown hyena den. They used to den on Rietspruit, and I think the male lions have just become a little bit too overpowering, but fingers crossed. I have hope. Brown hyenas, Andrew's asking if they den in similar areas to spotties. They will use termite mounds or little rocky sections. Oh no, we're stuck in traffic, everyone. Real traffic with a vehicle, not even an elephant. That means at our next junction I'm going to take a detour, but we probably won't get to the lions or the area of the lions. They have quite different societal norms and behaviors between the spotted hyenas and the brown hyenas, but the brown hyenas will have very similar den sites to the spotted hyenas. The brown hyenas will also bring a lot more food back to the den than the spotted hyenas will. They can be quite messy, yes. They're also one of the only one of the first documentations of hyena adoption was in the Kalahari, and in the 80s, and it was of brown hyenas. The mother died in the drought, and the rest of the family, mainly older siblings, an older male, an older female, and then an aunt, they would bring food back to feed their younger sibling and nephew, niece, whatever it was. But what was interesting is that the kinship adoption didn't extend to the entire clan. So the individuals where they were second or third cousins, or they were a little bit more distantly related, they had no interest in providing for the younger orphaned offspring. And that's what the scientists have put it down to, is the fact that it's close enough that your genetics are still surviving, and therefore you have genetic investment in the cub, even though it's not your offspring. And so you are going to get involved in the raising, or they get involved in the raising of their close relatives. But a cousin and a second cousin were not interested because they didn't see enough genetic similarity. And it's obviously all intrinsic, it's not something that hyenas are analyzing, but they are not genetically similar enough to justify expending energy to save offspring that will not ensure that their genetics are perpetuated. How cool is that? I love hyenas. Come on, leopard. You're not wrong, Andrew. Where's our spotlight? It's probably almost that time of the day. I really, really miss that hyena den to Carol. That hyena den on Pridelands was unbelievable. I think I was only there a handful of times visiting, maybe 4 or 5 times, but it was very dynamic with lots of different entrances, lots of different dynamics at play, lots of different cubs at different ages. Oh. Okay, I need both my hands to get up this hill. Hold on, Andrew. Hold on, folks. Okay. Whew. That was not a very becoming noise. I could be better. Where's my decorum? Let me just check if I have anything else here. No. When Betty came on safari with us, she came out to Africa, and we did some time at Mala Mala, and we had a fantastic hyena den sighting with 2 different cubs at 2 different ages, and they were very interactive, to the point where I actually thought one of them had given us a flat tire. Luckily, it was very difficult to puncture a hole in the tires of those Land Rovers. They were pretty thick, pretty robust. There's lots of amazing termite mounds on Rietspruit. I'm sure that there are great options for dens for hyenas. As much as I wish I could check comments and spotlight and drive, I'm just not that skilled. Bye, Michael. Thanks for joining us. See you soon. Oh, thanks, Andrew. Little legend. Andrew is my cameraman, my tracker, my spotlighter. Teamwork. There's eyes in the road ahead of us. I wonder what those are or who those belong to. My money is on, well, it's quite low. I was going to say a diker. Did you see those eyes, Andrew? Oh, it's a nightjar. The nightjar's call is, the fiery neck nightjar's call is very difficult to emulate. I'll switch off for him. And he's gone. An owl would be fun as well, wouldn't it?
Still yet to see a rose.
You haven't seen a rose yet.
Not a Rietspruit.
We need to find a rose. Excuse me. I'm sure with all the drainage lines there are rose eagle owls that frequent that area. It just is good habitat for them. I mean, we used to see them far more frequently than the spotted eagle owls. Seven. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Super cool. He's not hanging around, but that is so, whoopsie. So cool, so cool. How's that, Andrew? Tricky. He's in my light. Behind this tree, to the left, a little bit to the left, up a bit. Is in your lens. Isn't that amazing? Super cool. I think this is one of the first civets I've seen. In fact, this might be the first civet I've seen this year. So amazing. Obviously a nocturnal animal that will be waking up and getting ready for nocturnal activities. He's moved off and we're just going to let it go. But that, yay! My first civet of 2024. Can you believe it? And I wasn't even ready. You can still kind of see the eyes shining back at us, but he's gone. That was cool. Pardon? Yeah, it was a lovely sighting. Not too shy. It stuck around a little bit. Cute! You're right, Mary. Isn't it just cute? Does have a little bit of a raccoon face. Thanks, Bob. Bob's saying well done. I think it's more well done to Andrew though. I just had to spot it. Andrew needed to do all the hard work getting it on the camera, which he did real well. So many duiker. Sure, the mountains. They're beautiful. Oh, now I'm excited. I'm excited about what other nocturnals we could find. I've been energized by the civet. Yeah. Mustard a day. There's a really big civet latrine quite close to camp that we've had a look at on one of our drives. I don't think we were live. And so we know that the population's good. Andrew and Brent have both told us about, you know, the fact that civets are good, but this is the first one that I've managed to see in the time that I've been here, all of 3.5 weeks. Andrew, can I give you this for 3 seconds? I can just check what all of you are saying. My always wish is an aardvark or a porcupine, Betty. You know what? Those are actually really cool things to wish for. I can give you a tiny, tiny portion of a porcupine. Look at me, granting wishes. Oh, scrub hair. Dashed across the road there for a second. Yeah, I don't know who put that quill in the car, but it's quite a nice pointer, so I might keep it. And then, what you got? What you got? Ooh, an owl. Too busy reading the YouTube comments. Okay, let's go see if we can get this owl. I think it landed somewhere here. It wasn't a huge one, was it? Man, gone. They're so quiet. You just don't see them. Well, you don't hear them. A flash sighting of an owl. I could hear I could hear the eagle owls in camp last night. I actually thought of Andrew calling from his tent. I really did. I thought you were calling the owls, like going, whoo.
I was watching a series and thought you guys were trying to call me.
No,
Paused it, and then I heard the eagle owl.
Andrew thought that it was us trying to call him. So we all got a little bit confused by the owl that decided camp was its place to hang out last night. Come on, last minute lions. It was making such a strange noise compared to its normal call. It was just making a single whoo, and then it would stop. And then it would go Woo. So we all kind of thought that, I thought Andrew was calling. Andrew thought we were calling. So the owl got the last laugh. Folks, it's that time of the night again, where we are going to say our fond farewells. Hopefully Andrew and I, well, I don't think we're going to get very lucky, but we're going to keep searching. And if we find anything, we'll let you know tomorrow. Same time, same place, probably different presenter. But we'll see you tomorrow, and have a great evening or the rest of your day, depending on where you are. Cheers, everybody. Bye.